Welcome to Senior Spotlight number 10. This is Mary Cordova with Concierge Advisors. We help seniors stay in their homes safely or make a transition when they are no longer safe to be at home. And today we are talking to two people, and we are talking to Matt and Jenny. Jenny is a concierge care advisors with Concierge Care Advisors, and she also is involved in the healthcare providers Pierce County. And Matt Santelli, he is an advocate for Pierce County Human Services and involved with senior scams and hoping to prevent senior scams. So, Matt, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you. Not only is this, I'm sure, increased during the holiday season, but just increased in general. And we really appreciate your advocacy to help seniors obviously know what scams are out there and their adult children to help prevent them. So, welcome. And we would just like to have you introduce yourself and Jenny as well. And then we'll start in with some questions if that works for you too.
Sure. Matt Santelli, and I do work at the Pierce County Human Services and the Aging and Disabilities Resources Division as the lead education and outreach specialist. And I've worked there for 22 years.
Wonderful. Thanks for your advocacy. We appreciate you. Jenny?
Hi, I'm Jenny. I've worked in the senior care and housing industry for going on 15 years. I'm on the board of directors of Healthcare Providers Council of Pierce County, and I spent 10 years in an assisted living community in Tacoma. And now I'm with Concierge Care Advisors, and I've been with y'all for 4 years. Can't believe it.
We are so lucky to have you, have both of you. And we know personally from a scam that we have been following, Miss Jenny, and know that there are some bad actors in our industry as well that can easily take advantage of seniors. So the more we talk about it, the more we expose it to adult children, power of attorneys, friends, neighbors, so we can all be advocates for our vulnerable seniors. That's what we want to do. So, Matt, again, thank you so much for coming today. Can you tell us a little bit why you personally think scams have increased so much with the vulnerable population?
Yeah, so when I started the job like 22 years ago, I started off doing direct service work with the seniors, meaning that they would call us, or a friend or family member would call us that they had some sort of concern, and we would go visit them in their homes. And this was back in the day before there was really the explosion of social media, online presences, and all that. But even then, you could kind of see the vulnerability and the danger creeping up. Back in those days, it was a lot of U.S. mail sweepstakes scams that were happening, and landline phone call scams, and even a lot of door-to-door scams that would happen. And we were seeing early on that the ability of seniors to really navigate that world and to separate the criminal actors from the legitimate businesses and people that were out there trying to help them was becoming more and more challenging. And so year to year, I was seeing that the dollar amounts alone were increasing, and that every senior would report some sort of suspicious activity that was happening around them. And again, they couldn't really determine if it was legit or not. And so from that point forward, I decided, well, what I think I'll do in the direct service work is also kind of add some work on my daily life there at the office of getting information out about scams and fraud, what they look like, how to identify them, how to avoid them, and then if a senior were to become victim, how to prevent them. And so from there, just moving forward, doing the education and outreach, one of the things I do consistently is provide presentations and interviews like this one, talking about the scams and fraud out there, how to recognize the patterns, how to avoid becoming a victim, and then what the recovery process looks like. And it's a lot bigger issue now than it was then because most of our seniors carry cell phones. Many of them work online. They have online presence in different social media platforms, and that makes the scam availability, the criminals out there really able to target them directly in some cases. And with the advent of AI, it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. So thanks for having me here today so we can help them navigate that world and hopefully avoid becoming a victim.
Oh, we can't thank you enough for just talking about it, educating people, and having them be aware. So important. We have all heard of the ones where they call the grandparents and say your grandson or granddaughter needs to be bailed out. And those are just heartbreaking stories. And I know you've ran into those. The holiday season is coming around. It's supposed to be a joyous time. We know that the scammers are absolutely here to take advantage of people. Can you talk to seniors about what that may look like during the holidays and when people are preying on adult children to perhaps, needing some Christmas money or some holiday money, what that might look like during the holidays, what you see trend up?
Yeah, so typically the holiday season, as we all know, it's an emotional time of year for everybody in good ways and in some bad ways as well. It's a giving season, and so many of our seniors, that being the generous people they are, especially those that are lonely and isolated, feel obligated to be part of that giving season. And many of them don't have family or friends in the area to whom they can give. So they're easy targets when it comes to someone approaching them about a fake charity donation, for example, saying that there's some issue going on in the community, whether it's Salvation Army, fake scams, or Goodwill. Oftentimes, it's related to seasonal aspects as well, like the recent storms on the eastern seaboard, and wanting folks to give money to those causes as well. Oftentimes, these are kind of far away type charity kind of situations, so it's very difficult for the senior to kind of identify locally what's going on, and so they fall prey to that. And a lot of them don't understand how dangerous it is to give up their personal information, to give up their name, dates of birth,
Right.
bank account numbers, credit card numbers, because it's so common that we'll do a purchasing transaction legitimately doing those things. They don't realize that once that information gets into the hands of a bad actor, that a lot of bad consequences can result from that. The other thing they're always attacked for in this holiday season is the whole online community, Facebook and other social media sites where there's offers being provided, some special information that they're supposed to access to get a great deal on a purchase.
Right.
Sometimes it can take the form of even seasonal hiring scams, where it's looking like the person has an opportunity to earn some extra money working a part-time job. Usually they're portrayed as being work from home type jobs. Unfortunately, the step one on those scams is there's no job interview. You don't have to qualify in any way, but you do have to send money for training, or you do have to send money for your license or whatever it might be. And then that's the end of it. There's no job on the back end of that deal. They're just out of their money.
Mm.
And then we always worry about too, post COVID, we've really become a package delivery kind of society, far more than we were before that. We all kind of moved into that direction when the grocery stores were limiting hours, when the department stores weren't open. So that's really carried over into the current time. And there's so much package ordering going on, package delivery going on, that it's a very fertile environment for things like porch pirates. Those are
Mm.
people that will take a look at your front porch, steal your packages when you aren't home.
Mm-hmm.
That's rife for mail theft, again, especially in the rural communities of Pierce County. There's typically a street side mailbox that sometimes isn't even visible from the house. So people are getting deliveries there. Sometimes they're getting Social Security letters and things that come in. Those are getting stolen. And then, yeah, you mentioned the imposter scams. Again, these are kinds of seasonal scams, again, around the holidays, especially when someone will phone call to that senior and say, Grandma, Grandpa, I'm in trouble. I need help. And then the trick there is that the grandparent then gives up the name of the grandchild and says, oh,
Right.
Susie, is this you? Bobby, is that
Mm.
you? And then the response, of course, is, yes,
Yes.
Grandma, it's me, Susie. Yes, Grandma, it's me, Bobby. I need some help. And usually the help means that some money needs to be wired somewhere. We even have it where people were supposed to go out and buy a variety of gift cards and mail them to an address. So it's typically that whole scenario where it's some sort of approach that says, I've got good news for you. You've won a prize. If you want a sweepstakes, I've got a great deal on some holiday shopping that you're going to do. Or it's a bad news. You owe money to the IRS. There was a package being delivered to your house and it didn't happen. There's a family member in trouble and it's the holiday season. You have to help them out. So it's typically that good news, bad news kind of scam framework that is what really happens. And it's usually coming from some position of authority, some known authority. Could be the IRS, it could be Macy's, it could be someone in your family. And so that's how the seniors get easily duped, because these are calls of people that they think they know well, or they trust, or they're familiar with, when actually it's just a criminal imposter.
So much to be aware of, and it's just criminal, obviously, but shameful. My husband actually just got a text message and somebody wanted him to go out and buy some gift cards.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, happens all the time. And we see this, and it's just really unfortunate because, of course, being that it is coming into the holiday season, we want to be a giving society. We want to help people that are less fortunate, but also don't want people to be scammed out of their money. What's most heartbreaking on what you shared is someone giving their money and they're actually looking for a job.
Yeah.
So obviously they're not wealthy. They're wanting to help people, but still over, probably a retirement age, senior over 65 years old and still needing to work to put money in their pocket.
It's very
Heartbreaking.
sad, yeah, because we know many of our seniors with the high cost of living are looking legitimately for some side work that they can do to enhance their income. And they're always shocked when I tell them that the text messages they are getting don't even represent a real human being. They're typically robot programs that send these out. We all get them. I'll read you one example I got. This is from an out of country code, a 6-3 country code, which I think is somewhere from in East Asia. But this is one of the package delivery scams. This says U.S. Post, you have a USPS parcel being cleared. The parcel cannot be cleared. The parcel is temporarily detained. Please confirm the zip code, address information, and the link within 24 hours. And the link takes you to another page where you have to add a lot of personal information, and there's a fine involved. And so right away, you're oh my gosh, because again, we're a package delivery world. So most seniors would say, oh, that's right, I am waiting for a package. It got held up. And they're easily and willfully giving up their information, thinking that's going to free up the package when it's just going to go into the hands of the criminal.
I just received one of those this morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's so common and it's so ubiquitous and it's so frustrating because our communication networks are federally regulated by the Federal Communications Commission, and yet all of us can give multiple stories about this. It's very frustrating, and it's something that really should not be tolerated to the degree that we tolerate it.
Absolutely. So appreciate your expertise in this subject, and we can't talk enough about it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Jenny would like to just reintroduce some of your scenarios on, you've been in the industry of helping seniors for a lot of years. You've probably seen a lot of scams and would love to know what you have seen and hear about what you have seen from seniors in an environment that we think they're protected, but they're really not.
Yeah, it's funny. I got a text from Bank of America just a few minutes ago on my work phone saying that my account was compromised.
Oh
but,
my gosh.
I don't deal with the Bank of America on my work phone, so.
Right. Isn't
Pretty
that
funny.
crazy? Absolutely. It's just amazing. So, and we're savvy people. We know that you look at the email address. Is it a .gov? Is it, United Postal Service? Is it, someone else's random email? I have a child that's about 30, so he has educated us throughout the years on being more savvy, but not everyone has a 30-year-old hanging around to say, no, mom, that's a scam or whatever. So,
Exactly.
we have been educated. But
I do feel like it's my job, to keep my parents educated on these things,
Absolutely. Because like we talked about, we have people in our lives that are really giving people, and we want to be a society of helping people that are vulnerable or in need. But unfortunately, in this society, if someone's contacting you, do not share any information.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I think we should just share with everybody. No one's ever going to call you and ask for your bank account number, your phone number, your address, your zip code. And it's absolutely crazy. I ran into this with making a payment actually on Puget Sound Energy, and they had you go to like a third party and put in your payment information. And then within an hour, I had a phone call, you could tell, from a foreign country, basically saying that it was like the IRS. But it was that third party through Puget Sound Energy that was vulnerable. And then if you called Puget Sound Energy to report it, they had already had a pre-recorded message that's saying, if you're getting these calls, their third party payer was compromised. But it had me scared. It was like, what? And, it was really scary, even though I knew I had no problems with the IRS. But if somebody calls you and knows your account number from Puget Sound Energy, you just made a payment. I was scared. So, anyhow, I know how seniors can feel. Share a little bit about what you have seen, Jenny,
Sure.
in communities. And then, if you want to talk a little bit about bad actors that are in our industry that we have seen as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So the most notable one for me is at the assisted living, we had a recent widow um, who would leave every day, go to the bank and the post office, and then he'd come back. And we never really thought anything of it until we were contacted by his family, and then we were contacted by the postmaster. And he was going and buying gift cards, and he was sending them to someone. And then um, when his family confronted him about it, he was very indignant and upset. And he said that,
Embarrassed.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and he said they were his friends and that
Mm.
he wasn't going to stop
Oh,
because he was lonely, and they were calling him every day,
no.
and nobody else was
Nobody
calling.
else was calling him. Oh, man.
And so finally, the postmaster actually came to our community and spoke with him and told him he was being complicit to a
Mm.
crime.
Mm.
And that didn't even stop him.
Oh.
So he just was, spending so much money. I think what finally stopped was that he had to go to the hospital for
Mm.
something, and his family, took financial control,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what stopped it. But it was
Oh.
very, very sad.
Well, the saddest thing is, and this is for another podcast, is loneliness. We'll
Hmm.
pay for loneliness, right?
Yeah. And yep,
How sad. Yeah.
exactly. And then another person that I know personally, he wasn't even at the community, but he was a victim of, like a romance scam. So he was contacted, I think, through a dating app,
Mm.
a
Mm.
catfish type
Right.
situation.
Right.
And the promise was that they were going to meet up, and um, uh, uh, he was sending her money all the time, and they were going to get married, and fairy tale type thing. And he probably sent her, and this is horrible, but about $100,000
Mm.
before
Mm.
he realized that they were never going to meet, and she ghosted him, cut off all contact. But $100,000.
Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Unreal.
we've seen some of those big fish scams too. And it's amazing, again, going back to what the seniors don't know. They don't realize that open source photos on the internet can be of anyone. And so we've had three different situations like that. We had one who was convinced there was a lieutenant colonel at the Pentagon in love with her.
Oh.
Another gentleman thought a Bulgarian flight attendant was in love with him. Another person that was an African princess.
Mm.
And they would show me the photos, and some of them, like you said, Jenny, came off different dating sites and other social media, and I could find those photos. They're open source. It's like
Mm.
grabbing a picture of a building or something online. That's just open source if you need it.
Mm. Isn't that
they
crazy?
didn't they don't realize that. So this isn't like a person. I said, no, it's just basically a creation. It could even be like AI created, but
Mm.
it's a handsome guy in a uniform, a beautiful woman in a flight attendant's outfit, or an exotic looking princess. And so for them, it's like, wow, I really hit the jackpot with this
Mm.
person who's interested in me. And like you said, the loneliness gets overlaid
Yes.
on top of that, and the need. It's generally kind of calling it a catfish is a really good way to describe it, because it really is slowly kind of reeling them in with the story and thinking, I finally found my perfect match late in life. How lucky I am. And then the financial hit starts to happen. So,
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, exactly. I've also seen some of our residents that were just in this perpetual like loop of publishers clearinghouse sweepstakes,
Mm.
just
Mm-hmm.
constantly sending money and convinced that if they kept sending money that they were going to win.
Yep.
To, gosh, probably about 25 to 50 charities every month.
Mm.
The ones that would send you
Oh yeah, your return address labels and
Yes,
yes, yes. The
yeah,
seniors.
and the families would have to get involved and like intercept all the mail before mom would get it,
Oh,
because she was spending thousands of dollars.
yeah.
So those are, the ones that we were seeing often. And then um yeah, so we've seen some people in our industry target lonely and isolated seniors that don't have family, unfortunately, um, and do some shady things like, unfortunately, uh, convince them to become their power of attorney
Yeah.
and cross some ethical
Ethical
lines.
lines, absolutely. And when you're dealing with people like myself and Jenny and Matt and in-home care agencies and hospice and home health, it's okay to run background checks on us. We
Hmm.
we want you to. We want to be able to share with you that we are legitimate, and please feel free to do so with anyone that is helping you with the aging process because it's so huge and people are so vulnerable. And we have seen this from people that are in our industry, and not everyone is always looking out for vulnerable seniors and have good hearts. We know there's bad actors, so keep yourself safe. And Matt, is there anything else that you would like to share before we close?
Well, just to keep in mind that seniors and disabled folks are particularly vulnerable. I narrow it down to three things. OAR is the acronym: opportunity, availability, and response.
Mm,
Opportunity, because the scammers know there's some regular income, doesn't have to be a lot, this could be a little, but they know every month that senior is getting additional income. The availability is there because they're not in the workforce. Many of them are retired, like we talked about. Many of them welcome a phone call, they'll welcome a text message, they'll welcome somebody knocking on their door. And then the response. This is where I teach my seniors, you got to choose to be rude because that
mm-hmm.
person's not going to let go of you. They're going to keep hitting you and hitting you and hitting you. And you have to finally draw the line, slam down that phone, slam that door, stop responding to them. Because lacking that intervention, you're always going to be in that situation where they're going to keep pushing you until you fall prey and become a victim.
Absolutely. And we also call out to banks and trust officers to let them know if you see anything that is irregular. Your, little old lady that comes in and gets $200 out every other week for the last 5 years, and now they're pulling $2,000 out a month. That might be a call to the family member, the power of attorney, to let them know, hey, just want to bring this to your attention. So I think that's also something. But also, Matt, do you see where adult children are taking advantage of their family members, or where financially they don't want them to sell their home to take care of their rest of their life? Or, my adult child who's 66 years old lives in the house, and even though I'm 85 and a fall risk, I can't move because my son needs somewhere to live. Things like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah. We typically see it both where the child, for whatever reason, has been a lifelong dependent of those parents. And so their situation interferes with what actions those elderly parents need to take to move on and move into possibly a different long term care situation, for example. We see that a
Mm-hmm.
lot where they're just waiting for something to change in the aspect of that son or daughter who's never been able to leave the house. And we can't identify that they're disabled or there's a reason for it, but they've just become accustomed to living off the generosity of their parents. And then, like Jenny said, yeah, we see a lot of these situations where it's often the boldest and least equipped adult child that
Yeah.
jumps in and takes over management of that household finances. And again, oftentimes it's because the rest of the family are functional. They might not even live in the area. They moved off, raised their own children, have gotten solid marriages. But that local hanger on is the one that gets involved. And sometimes that could be just a close relative. Sometimes it could be a shirt tail relative, a niece or nephew that's always been kind of marginally involved. And under the auspices of I'll come in and take care of you, auntie or uncle or grandma, when the taking care of them means they're really going to start moving down the pathway of being a criminal. and involving themselves in those financial affairs. And we've had those situations where, yes, they've lost thousands, if not millions of dollars. I'll give you a frightening statistic. 2022 statewide, 2,300 victims reported out as being seniors who actually opened criminal investigations. $96 million lost among those 2,300 people.
96
That was just
million.
in 22.
Oh my gosh. I don't
And
know.
that makes us the 11th worst state in the country. So
Well, we better start doing something about it. I don't know if you ever saw the car accident of two women that rear-ended an elderly couple and got into a fist fight with them. And the car that they were driving was registered to a veteran, and they tracked him down, and the two women were taking advantage of a veteran. It was his vehicle, and he was also renting them, bought a condo for them in the same condo that he is in out of fear, and they racked up $250,000 that the veteran has given these two girls, and all because they rear-ended somebody and they did some police work on who owned the vehicle. So it's just on and on and on. Matt, I can't thank you enough for coming to the show today. We really appreciate you, your advocacy, and keeping vulnerable seniors safe. From Pierce County Human Services, thank you so much. Jenny, thank you so much for coming on the Senior Spotlight today. This is Mary from Concierge Care Advisors. We help seniors find housing. You can reach us at www.conciergecare.com. Thank you.